It's early morning at the harbor in Escuminac, New Brunswick. The lobster season has been over for months and the herring fishery just ended. Soon the boats will be taken out of the water for the winter. At the Bay St. Anne Fishermen's Co-op, workers are arriving to begin changing the production line. They've been processing herring roe for shipment to Japan. But for the next month or so, they'll be handling lobster from areas where it's still being fished, including from Maine. There'll be work here until early December. Then everyone will be laid off until the spring. Liberal candidate Pat Finnegan is offering workers coffee, Timbits, and a promise to repeal the changes made to employment insurance by the Conservatives.
Did you hear about the Liberal plan on EI, what we're going to do? You knew about the Harper reform, EI reform. We're going to cancel that. And we're going to cut the waiting period from 2 weeks to 1 week. Okay, that's always good.
No, that's always good.
It's an extra week to not having to wait for your check.
No.
And also we're going to put more resource for the when you need to call for information about your check. We'll have resource there to answer the call. Now, if you talk to the processors themselves. It's the other side of the story, and they're always concerned that they're going to lose their workers to process the fish because, again, it's a seasonal thing, so you let your workers go, and you're hoping that you'll have enough next time to come and process and it's one of their biggest concerns.
How much of an issue in this riding are the changes to EI?
The changes to EI are huge, are huge. When these changes first got introduced, we had 1,500 people marching in the street on one of the coldest days in the winter. People that are, A, were afraid of these changes, B, are still afraid because with these changes, you take somebody who's making just above minimum wage and tell them that, okay, now you need to travel an hour away, which, let's be honest, jobs aren't plenty here in the Miramichi, and take up to 70% less. It's a race to the bottom. And people see it, and people have protested and stood up against this. And our leadership, or the people, or the person who is to represent us, kind of swept it off like it was a small minority of people who were concerned about this. It's not a big issue in the Miramichi. I can tell you right now, it's a huge issue in the Miramichi.
So if the NDP were to get elected to government, what would you do about it?
We're scrapping all the changes. A. Those changes are going away.
The people in Ontario and Western Ontario, they don't understand the seasonal nature of what we have in Atlantic Canada. Some of us can only work certain times of the year, like maybe you can only fish in the summer, or lobster fishing is a short season, or and so the opportunity has to be there for people to be able to draw EI, and it almost will feel to people like they're being penalized for working, and that's their lifestyle. They have to take EI at a certain time every year, and it's been made so very difficult and so cumbersome. The process is unfortunate. The Green Party would like to make the right changes. I don't see anything wrong with the way the system used to work.
How have the changes to the EI system impacted this community? Because we certainly hear that's one criticism, that people are not happy about the changes.
When it first came about, there was a lot of rumpus and people coming to my office, and there was a demonstration, but I handled it as best I could. And I have to give credit to my staff and myself, all of us. We have worked together very hard to make people understand the good and the bad of this, but mostly the good of the new changes to EI. And I have got to say that I have not had that many. Maybe there might have been one or two people that have walked away really discouraged, but lately I have not heard anything. I'd say in the last year I have not heard anybody that comes to my office with complaints. We certainly handle it very carefully, and we get to the bottom to be able to help them in whatever way we can. And they all seem very happy with it, and people are going along with the new ideas.
Because your opponents, of course, are saying, if we get in as a government, we're going to change the system. We're going to make changes that mean that they don't have to work as many. They don't get the clawback as much. So they're appealing to that side of things. How do you respond back on that?
Well, I feel that not just on that, but I mean, if we are providing more jobs and more economic growth here, then there's not as many people on EI as what there usually would be. So if we can compensate it in that way, we certainly are doing our jobs.
Oh, good, dear. Nice to see you.
I see you again.
Yes.
Yeah, you were my school teacher.
That's right. I was taught you in grade 1.
Yeah?
Sure. Well, I'm certainly looking for support at the polls on election day. And former students going to support me, I know that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Tilly O'Neill Gordon has been the Conservative MP since 2008. In the 2011 campaign, she promised jobs lost when the Long Gun Registry office was closed would be replaced by something else.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
You and the PM. Tell them the PM.
Yes, I certainly will.
Hello.
You'll be glad to hear from you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes.
O'Neill Gordon made good on her promise by getting the Public Service Pay Center moved to Miramichi with 550 jobs. $85 million has been committed to build a new facility, and even more jobs are expected to be created.
The transition, I gather, was not as smooth as one would have liked. Back in June, there were a lot of complaints about the staff being overworked, that there was way more work than they could handle. What's happened with that?
I'd love to hear that.
Well,
because
yeah,
it
except
means more.
they were
I'd
saying,
love
look,
to
we
hear
can't
that.
handle this.
No, and so
it's
therefore I need to go get more people to go to
And has
work
that
there.
happened?
And yes, I have spoken with the department, and I understand there will be some more jobs available starting up. As a matter of fact, I have recommended many people to make sure that they write their test, they get in the pool, and I feel that I do know that I have someone coming from Ottawa to look into all of this for me and to make things run more smoothly and to see how we can fix it and take back the request that I need, and that's what I need. I need more. We can always look around at new civil service buildings that have started maybe with 20 or 30 jobs and look at them now, there's 50 or 60. So those kind of buildings produce growth, and that's what I want. Mm-hmm. And that's what I am hoping for Miramichi. I'm happy with the 550, but if someone else got another 100 for me, I'll be ready to take it.
And created 550 jobs here, but that was from over 1,500 across Canada that were doing these jobs. Mm-hmm. So in the media, and we see in it, and some of these are my members as Federation Labour President, they're running extremely short-staffed. The overtime is through the roof there. They're not well staffed by any stretch of the imagination. So I've made the commitment that if elected, I will make sure that it is adequately staffed, because quite frankly, no one should have to work short and overtime if they do not want to, and they're being forced to do this.
That is not how you sustain it for long term. We still need our small and medium business to create the bulk of the jobs, and that will sustain us for a long time. Like, again, we've lost the base, we've lost the mills that shut down. So when your community is tied to one employer, and again, a government jobs is just a decision away from another government down the road, not ours, because we're going to support that and build on that. We've got other ideas to bring other, maybe federal workers here, but we have to think better than that.
I think it's fantastic that they managed to bring 500 payroll jobs to the Miramichi. That is great. It's great for the Miramichi. But in the meantime, more jobs have left the Miramichi than just those 500 they brought in. One job loss is unacceptable. But when you add up the Hebert recycling jobs, there's 40. You've got about 160 or so, or possibly more, in the Miramichi lumber. And you've got at least 300 jobs impacted by the P3 nursing home project. So you're talking about 500 jobs plus. That's an unacceptable loss. So she's brought in 500, but probably more than that will be going out because of government inaction.
This election is about the future of our country. As it is about our family, it's about our movement, because we have never seen a government more determined in pushing back the gains that Labour has made.
Hassan Yousaf is the president of the Canadian Labour Congress. He's come to Miramichi-Grand Lake to support NDP candidate Patrick Colford. Colford came in second to O'Neill Gordon in 2011. Since then, he's been working as president of the New Brunswick Federation of Labour and is the provincial vice president of the Canadian Labour Congress. So issues related to union workers are important to him. One of the local issues in this campaign is a decision by the provincial Liberal government to replace a couple of aging nursing homes with a new one. The proposal is to build the new home through a private-public partnership known as P3.
What about that P3? Are you in for that?
Not a chance.
Right.
Not a chance.
So,
no, not a chance, brother.
My mother is...
Works in a nursing home?
Yes.
I'm going to leave that for you?
Yes, my
mother is
working.
That tells you a little bit about me, and that tells you a little bit about the party.
Well, I'll just tell you, you got my vote.
When jobs are so scarce here and people are worrying about their jobs, you know, we can't have any of this. You know, other jurisdictions, other parts of this province have built new nursing homes. They're not P3 models. So once again, it seems to me as if Miramichi's getting the short end of the stick. It was a rash decision. There was a big protest here that's been going on for a while that we need a new nursing home. Our two nursing homes that we have, one of them specifically is falling apart, basically. They've started renovations to maintain that until they can build the new one. But it was a rash decision led by a very famous doctor here on the river with the push, and people got behind him. And it was a knee-jerk reaction saying, okay, you want a nursing home, we'll get you a nursing home, just to basically shut you up. But then once the details came in of what this nursing home entailed, people said, whoa, this isn't what we wanted. It isn't what we asked for.
But if you were elected MP, what would you be able to do about that?
I can sit down, I can work with the province and the provincial representatives and work on that funding model, because we all know that money is transferred down from the feds down to the provinces for infrastructure, for healthcare, for social development, you know, infrastructure, you name it. And we need to be working together to give the citizens what they want and what they deserve.
The public-private partnership, there's no question that it's not the right answer for the Miramichi. As I've said before, these, and I've said many times before, the employees, the people working in these nursing homes are going to lose their jobs. They're going to have to reapply for jobs that some of them have probably had for 20, 25 years, 30 years maybe. They're not guaranteed to get the same salary. They're probably going to be paid significantly less, potentially. Any seniority or anything that they may have had, any kind of tenures, anything they may have had, they're not going to have. They're not necessarily guaranteed to get their jobs back. Plus, it displaces the seniors if they have to be shuffled around. If they're closing and privatizing, these are going to become for-profit facilities versus what they have been. And what happens is the standard of care could go down. There's all kinds of problems with this public-private partnership agreement. So yeah, it's just not the solution. It's not what the Miramichi needs. And it's going to cause a lot of probably grief for people and unnecessary hardship and relocations and stress that isn't needed.
The workers, I worry for them as well, because many of them have worked for years and have a pension. They're worried about applying for their new job and having to start at square one. I certainly can share their concern, and they know that I'm there and worried about them as well as they are. So I certainly have given them all the support I can. But it is a provincial issue, and I don't want to interfere other than to show them that I do care and that they have my support.
We hear it once in a while, you know, people, especially if we come into a door where some of these people are actually working, or on the other side, people that have close parents in these existing homes. So we hear both sides of it, you know. Definitely we need a new home. There was 800 people this spring that stood up and said to the government, we want a new home. So that's still there. The object at the end of the day is to get facilities where our parents or loved ones that are in need of nursing home facilities. That's the objective at the end of the day. Now, so how is that going to be done? So they decided to go P3 or with a public partnership, a private partnership. And so that's when all that new controversy came out, because everybody was for that announcement. It was a great day and all that. So now that it's still unsure, because there's some RFPs, I believe, out there, so that somebody has to submit, and it could be the same board that's going to apply for that, the permission to, I don't know, build it, but to operate it. So it could be the same board of directors that run the show. So, and I'm not, again, as you say, this is a provincial issue, and I'm not privy to all the information, how that all happens, but I hear it from here and there. And So at the end of the day, I'm hoping that the local board and the government and the union, of course, the unions, that's the ones, they're the ones that are really protesting about this. So we're hoping that.
But if there's discontent with the provincial Liberal government, does that find its way into people's attitudes towards?
I'm sure it does to some people. That a lot of people sometimes don't make the difference between provincial and federal. But of course, to me, there's a connection. The connection is that the federal has not done its duty to see what's happening in New Brunswick. With the oldest population in North America, except for Florida, for obvious reason, you can't take a pie and divide it in 10 and say, well, this is how it's going to be divided. We have extra costs. We have a young, like I said, if we have the oldest population, most of our youngs are not there. So to pay for those health issues, which is your nursing home or all your health, the federal government's, it's a big responsibility for the federal government. They have not sat with the province. They have not sat with the province for the last 10 years. So that's where the connection is, in my view, is we need to sit down with New Brunswick and say, look, what can we do to assist, because it's not sustainable as it is.
Mr. Tomato is a popular fruit and vegetable market in Rogersville on the highway between Moncton and Miramichi.
Well, it's been here since 1979. I think we first started with just a small roadside stand. Me and my wife, we started that, and I think it was May '79. We took a week off to get married, and then we came right back, and it just grew ever since. Small and medium business are really important. That's what will sustain us in the long term. Like a lot of rural areas, we've lost a lot of our youth. They're going to after school. They're leaving the area because there's really nothing, to keep them here. And so if we can grow the small and medium business in our area, I think there's a chance that we might get families to come back and establish. In this area here in Rogersville, they work predominantly in Miramichi, which is good. But again, Miramichi is suffering the same thing, where we've lost a lot of small business. And so that's really not sustainable on the long run. And for me, the most important thing is to grow that sector of our economy.
Yeah, we're trying to export as much as we can as product instead of exporting the students, to keep them here.
Yeah.
So we need guys like you to push building product locally, and then export it.
That's where it's at. I mean, and at one time, quite frankly, I mean, we were an industrial hub.
Right.
We made stuff here.
Yeah. Oh,
and
we made real drill rigs up the hill.
That's right. And and we got away from that. And I mean, and manufacturing it's
not just call centers either. We got a product.
You can't live off that stuff. And we've tried. We've tried, but we need the good value-added things, and you were saying on the resources.
Yeah.
We've been shipping two of our greatest resources out of here for the longest time.
Yeah.
One's wood, and the first one is our people.
That's true. Yeah.
So we got to bring them back. We need the government that's going to stand up and say, listen, we're going to start building things in Miramichi.
Yeah.
And
ship them out, make 3,000%.
The Energy East pipeline is something that is certainly talked about in New Brunswick. Is that something you're hearing about, and what's your...
Yes, I'm hearing about it, of course, and then I will just go with the same line. Anything that's going to provide jobs for my constituency and for New Brunswick, I will, and as long as it's safe, there's nothing that's going to cause any damage to our environment, I am 110% in favor of it. So jobs is the issue, and we'll go in any way we can to get them.
So would you expect then that if the Conservatives are re-elected and you're re-elected, that pipeline would be something that your government would want to see go through?
Well, I would hope to. I would certainly be in favor of it, and I certainly would speak with the departments that would be that would help me walk through that.
Miramichi-Grand Lake tragedy, certainly, it woke up a lot of people here that, we go to sleep at night and tanker cars go by with filled with, we don't know what, because they don't even have to tell the municipality here what's in there. I think there's a law, and it's supposed to happen that they will inform, but, and I'm sure there's all kinds of, whether it's oil or other chemicals. So there's certainly a concern, and that's why we were happy that they've invested on the line, because there was a lot of sections that were really not safe. So you know, that brings us to the pipeline issue. And I, for one, believe that the pipeline is a safer mode of transport for these fuels. But not to say that we could ram these pipelines through without, you know, thorough environmental and community concerns. We can't just go plow through a community with a pipeline. It's got to be a whole community project, and they have to be on board and be part of the whole discussion as to how this can be done, if it can be done. But certainly, as we all know, pipelines are certainly a safer mode. So for us in this community and every community along the way, Lac Mégantic is still fresh, and I mean, these towns are all built around those lines. So the same thing could happen for sure here. So, you know, it is a concern.
Energy East is a huge issue. People you talk to, I mean, it's a huge issue with environmentalists. It's a huge issue with Aboriginals. It's a huge issue with the people who are working out west who want to come home. And what my position on that and what the NDP's position on that is, we need to have the environmental impact studies done and proven safe. We need to be talking with First Nations and Indigenous people because at the end of this day, it's their land. And be talking to industry and the people who are going to make it happen to ensure that it's done in the safest way possible, and that we're going to have a value-added product at the other end. If we're talking about bringing raw bitumen from Alberta to St. John, New Brunswick, only to be loaded onto ships and shipped away, and then to turn around and buy it back at a greater price, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever to us. And we've been doing that for years. We've been doing that in the western part of this country, where we're shipping down to Texas, they're refining it, and then we're buying it back. On the East Coast, it's a little different. A lot of our oil comes from Venezuela. But nonetheless, it's the fact that we need value added, and that's part of the industrial strategy that I spoke of earlier.
But the Green Party sees potential to put people to work in long-term construction jobs, doing other kinds of projects, retrofitting homes and business buildings, getting new windows and doors and roofing and siding, things to make buildings more efficient. There are so many construction jobs that would be long-term, that could stay, that, you know, we could do, that would benefit the economy, because the longer you keep people working, the more money they have to spend. These pipeline projects are just going to, once it's completed, the bitumen's going to be coming through, it's going to be going to a terminal in St. John, it's going to be going on a boat, it's going to be going to the United States or elsewhere. It's not going to be providing economic benefit to New Brunswick for very long term.
The Miramichi has been known as one of the finest salmon fishing rivers in the world. Thousands of anglers come here every year, spending millions of dollars in the hopes of hooking a salmon. Bill Tomiello has been coming up from New Jersey every year for the past 25. He's seen a lot of changes over the years. Fewer fish, lower water. The fishery is now completely catch and release. While he had no idea there was an election campaign going on, he has a message for politicians.
I'll say something that won't be popular. Politicians and people in general approach this resource with greed. There are so many people that depend upon fish being in this river that are making money for the province. I'm coming here spending money. I'm soliciting every store up and down the river. You got guys here that their livelihood, their entire season depends upon a 6 to 8 week window of opportunity. These fish got to show up. And if the government doesn't start to do something to realize that they got to manage these fish for these people to make a living, to better themselves in this province, they're missing the boat. Because once these salmon disappear, jobs are going to disappear and people are going to disappear. Two important things that I'm sure every politician can relate to. If you don't have somebody to vote for you, and if you don't have somebody making money, they're not going to vote for you. So, you know, for God's sake, do something to manage this resource and keep the salmon in this river in good numbers, and keep me coming up here and all the other people that come up to fish, and spend our money here in this province.
It's the rest of the net that needs to come out, and if you got too much net, start pulling it in on shore down below.
In an effort to restock the river system, every September the Miramichi Salmon Association captures male and female salmon. They collect eggs from the females and sperm from the males. Once the fertilized eggs hatch, they're released into the river and its tributaries. It's about all they can do locally to try to sustain the fishery. Nobody knows for sure what has reduced the salmon in the river. Some think striped bass are eating the little ones. Others think climate change is warming the water. For some, the solution lies much further out in the ocean.
We got another one?
Yep. Well, I believe that we have to protect the oceans. We have to protect the fish in the ocean, because I think there's a strong belief that a lot of damage is being done in the ocean with overfishing. The food of the fish is being harvested now, and that's, in my mind, the big issue is out in the ocean. We have to get that under control.
You know, does it mean that Canada has to maybe like the cod war, flex its muscle to say, look, we're doing our best here, but we need to have control all the way, you know, from commercial fishery internationally and here also. So there's not a simple answer, but I think we got to keep the consultation with everybody involved. That's how I see it, including the First Nation, of course.
We need to work with the experts and create a sustainable industry and sustainable tourism, either around bass fishery and salmon fishery, or we need to take care of the bass and hope that those salmon stocks come back.
O'Neill Gordon says prior to the election call, she was working with Fisheries Minister Gail Shea to extend the catch and release policy.
Right up to the time of the election, I was working with Gail to try and increase it. That's what they want. They want more days that they can enjoy the hook and release program. And I certainly was. We had it increased. Did we not? I think we had it increased from 1 to 2 or 3 days. And we were looking at having more of an increase. But then with the election call, none of that is in process anymore. But I'll guarantee you that I come from the Skumanak originally, that's just a real fishing, that's a major fishing area. But I also know the importance of salmon and how much people love to hook and enjoy a salmon here and there.
Now hear this! Now hear this!
While the election is still more than 3 weeks away, the annual Miramichi Pumpkin Fling offers the candidates an opportunity to go head-to-head in a different way.
Each candidate will fire one shot with the picture of their leader. That was decided because the Great Pumpkin figured there'd be a fist fight among the opposition to get Stephen's pumpkin. Okay, 1, 2, 3. You're on track for a campaign! I like his hair. Just pull that valve down as quick as you can. And he's off. Oh, okay, keep going over to the right. Back. And we're off. Oh, a little to the right. A little to the right. That's okay.
I'll take it, I'll take it.
While none of the candidates hit the target, they all came close. It's likely the result on October 19 may well be similar.